Hey guys, welcome to the Week 6 Big Ten wrap up. And man, oh man, what a week. I think we're going to start with the biggest shocker of them all. And that was number 7, Penn State, coming off their first loss. And you figured they had a get right game with the UCLA Bruins, who had not won a game in the Big Ten, hadn't won since they fired their coach and Deshaun Foster. And instead, look, no Deshaun Foster, the coordinators were gone. UCLA beat Penn State. Shocker. Nobody saw that coming. Number 7, Penn State, James Franklin. This wasn't a top 10 team, folks. This was a bottom feeder in UCLA. UCLA wins at home 42-37. Now, here was a shocker. UCLA never trailed in this game. They have trailed in about every game they played this year, not in this game. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was new coach bump. I don't know what happened with UCLA and the Bruins and Nico Iamaleava, but Nico just went off. He had 5 touchdowns, 2 passing, 3 rushing. James Franklin, that Penn State defense, I think they got hit with the 2-piece combo and didn't know how to recover. The problem was, they went into this game and they kind of figured this was the get right game. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's something about when the East Coast teams fly all the way to the West Coast, strange things happen. Now, this one, like everybody else, Penn State was a 25-point favorite. We all thought, okay, money in the bank, Penn State gets right, and they get prepared for next week. No, that's not what happened. As I said, UCLA led this game wire to wire, including a safety at the end to just make sure that, they kept the score going. And even the Penn State defense for the safety, it was like they didn't know what to do because they were stunned. They didn't come after the punter. He just kind of waited in the end zone and burned off an extra 5 or 6 seconds because the Penn State special teams, the punt blocking team, didn't go after the punt. They were kind of standing there as if UCLA was going to go for it. And I think everybody in the building, including the announcers, was like, what are you doing? Penn State just looked ill-prepared for this game. We could either go that route or you could just say that, you know what, Nico Iamaleava proved to be the quarterback that UCLA thought he was going to be and leading this team down there and getting this thing done. UCLA did not shoot themselves in the foot. They were able to just generate the offense, whether it was all passing or running. They found ways to make plays. And the next thing you know, James Franklin and Penn State, they got upset. Probably the biggest upset in the Big Ten in a long, long time because, my God, UCLA was bad. I think you may have to go back to when Purdue, Ohio State, a few, 10 some years ago. This was bad. This was bad on Penn State. I think Penn State may have fallen out of any playoff contention because if you're tied with somebody else, this is a bad loss. This is a horrific loss. This is a horrible loss. There's no way to sugarcoat it. And that's not to denigrate UCLA and the Bruins. Great job winning that game. But you're UCLA. There's a reason why you fired your coach mid-season. Penn State couldn't shake off the loss last week from Oregon, the whiteout. And unfortunately, maybe Oregon, it's the old phrase, don't let one game beat you twice. And maybe Oregon really, they couldn't shake off that loss to Oregon last week because total shocker in the Big Ten. But yeah, Penn State loses on the road at the Rose Bowl to the UCLA Bruins 42-37. I think probably the next most exciting game happened in College Park. Got to give it up to the Washington Huskies. I guess you can fly from the West Coast to the East Coast. Now, it looked like Washington was dead in the water as Maryland had a 20-0 lead. They could do whatever they wanted to do, and Jed Fish and the Huskies couldn't stop them. Malik Washington had this Terps offense going, and it looked like it was going to be a cakewalk for the Turtles. It looked like they were just going to blow past the Huskies. And no, they just said, wait a minute, stop. And all of a sudden, the Huskies flipped the script, and the score went from 20 to nothing to 24 unanswered points. And it didn't happen because they got turnovers. It just happened because they shut down the Maryland offense, and they couldn't get anything in the second half. Props to Washington Huskies. 21. They kicked the field goal in the third, and 21 points, 3 touchdowns, including a kneel down to end the game in the fourth quarter. They came through in the money time, and they win the game 24-20. Like I said, 24 unanswered points, including 21 points in the fourth quarter. So Washington, they go on there. Like I said, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Washington avenges their loss to Ohio State because it looked like Ohio State was going to beat them twice. And then they got out of their funk, unlike what Penn State did. And they went out there and they got the job done. The other scores that happened in the Big Ten, I don't think there was a big surprise. Ohio State running past Minnesota, Michigan running past Wisconsin. Like everything happened. Illinois beating Purdue. I do want to harp upon one thing, and that's locally, the Michigan State-Nebraska game. Weird game. It was a game where both teams said, I don't want this, you take it. No, I don't want this, you take it. Nebraska ends up saying, all right, to hell with it. We're at home. We'll take it. They win the game 38-27. Not a great game across the board. A lot of bad plays, turnovers. The offensive line for both teams were just abysmal. They just couldn't get the thing done. I mean, at one point, Nebraska, I think it was like at a 4th and 42 where Michigan State got 3 straight sacks on Dylan Raiola. But on the flip side, Aiden Childs gets knocked out of the game. And when the backup QB comes in from Michigan State, he actually throws a touchdown. But something happened to Aiden Childs because he was never the same. Now, I don't know if it was just a bad diagnosis by the staff that they didn't see what was going on. But if you watch the game, Aiden Childs reverted back to the way he was last season. His 2 interceptions were just horrible. I mean, they were just complete overthrows to guys that were wide open, and he sailed it, ends up being picks. And then all of a sudden he gathered it back together, and then State goes on a drive. They get an interception, and they drive down 47 yards, and he's responsible for 40 of the 47 yards with his legs. Looks like everything is back. Looks like Michigan State's going to actually take this game. And then once again, bad special teams play. Early in the game, they had a punt blocked. And I don't even know if you can call it a blocked punt. The guy just took the ball and ran over the kicker. And the next thing you know, Nebraska scored. They were up 14-0. But later in the game, Nebraska, they punt the ball to Michigan State, and 2 guys go to fair catch it, and they, like Keystone Cops, bump into each other. Nebraska gets the ball back. They kick a field goal. And the next thing you know, it's just Nebraska. MSU, look, I don't know where you go from here because I thought this was a game that they could have won. I've often said that, look, Jonathan Smith had to win either the USC game or the Nebraska game to really show me that there's improvement with this team. I don't see any improvement with this team. And for those who are going to say, well, you got to give him time, that's not how college football works. And, yeah, you could say, well, Kurt Cignetti and Indiana are the exception. Okay, maybe. But I also see teams like Syracuse, see teams like Texas Tech who pumped in a lot of money in their program and they started winning. You're not going to get the 4 years and expect fans to just sit back and say nothing, especially when you're charging them top dollar for tickets and you're expecting them to donate and do all types of things, and yet they're not seeing results. At this pace, maybe you'll see, Michigan State in a 6-6 bowl game in Detroit in 4 years. That's totally unacceptable for a university that should be in the top 25 at all times. Sorry, but that's just how I see things. Now, you could sit there and say, well, he inherited a bad team, maybe, but with the transfer portal, you can go out there and you have to do some player development. I mean, you got to be able to scout players, and you also have to develop your own players. But you can flip a team rather quickly, and I'm not seeing that getting done. I see the Michigan State offensive line is just absolutely horrible. Whereas, not to call anybody out, but I think we all saw what happened when Lepo uh, goes out there and I believe he's hit the right tackle. He just blows his assignment, gets Aiden Childs injured, and he's sitting there with his hands on his head, looking like the kid from Home Alone. That's just unacceptable. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not picking on the kid because the offensive line was bad. Childs was running for his life where he finally just said, F it. I'm just going to use my legs and scramble. But by doing that, he had happy feet. He was missing his passes. And you saw later on in the game where him and Nick Marsh kind of got into it. They didn't kind of get into it. They got into it on the sideline. Now, look, their teammates, their brothers, I don't think anything is happening with that, but it's not a good look because you could clearly see the frustration on the players' faces. Why? Because that was a game they could have won, they should have won, but they didn't win. And unfortunately, I saw passion and emotion from the players. Still not seeing any passion and emotions from the coaches. And you could tell me, well, that's not his personality. I don't care. I need to see something. If you want me to believe in this program, you got to give State fans something to believe in. And right now, there's nothing to believe in. Right now, you're looking at this schedule, and it looks like another wasted year if you're a Michigan State fan where, okay, you thought UCLA was a gimme game, but if you listened to this podcast earlier, they just defeated the number 7 team in the nation. And then after that, you got Indiana, the team that you're jealous of. And then after that, you got Michigan, who looks like they're going to win because they got this great defense and a great running game. And then after that, you got other games. You got Penn State on there. You got Iowa. You got Minnesota. And you got Maryland. All of these teams are winning records. I don't see where Michigan State's going to pick up another victory unless they do something. Here's the sad reality when it comes to Jonathan Smith. He may be a great guy, may be a great coach, but it may be a bad fit. This could be Rich Rodriguez at Michigan. Sometimes a good coach goes to the wrong program and they just don't click. It just doesn't work, just doesn't fit. It's just how long do you want to hang in there? Look, conflicting reports, but it looks like he's got a $31 million buyout. Well, I don't know what you're going to do because I think that if you allow him more time, you're just going to see the same things and you're going to have to hit that reset button 2 years from now or 3 years from now instead of doing it right now. I just don't think he's going to be a good fit for this program. I don't see anybody getting better. And here's the thing, right here, right now, if he were to walk away, what would you say his biggest accomplishment at Michigan State has been? You beat a 1-4 Boston College team in double overtime. Because, yeah, that Boston College victory ain't looking so sweet. They're 1-4. So who have you beaten in your 17 games he's been the Michigan State coach? Who have you beaten? I'll wait because it's not there. So for all it takes time. It really doesn't take time. Not anymore. Not the way college football is set up now. You can go out there and I'll say this. I think it's crucial that, Jay Batt has to figure out if this is going to be his guy because, I've heard from numerous sources, Michigan State's about to get a substantial boost to the athletic budget from an outside donor or donors. And it's going to be substantial. It's going to be enough that Michigan State could put themselves into the halves. Now, can you go out and bring in NFL type players? Because that's the biggest problem when you look at this team. There's no NFL players, especially on the defense. I don't see anybody that I'm like, yeah, this guy is going to play in the league. And then the one guy that you have on offense, I'm like, I look at Nick Marsh, and here's the thing. Great offensive coordinators know how to use their special players and get them the ball 12 to 15 touches a game. Why? Because special players need the ball in their hands, whether it's jet sweeps, whether it's passes to him, punt returns. Nick Marsh is special. I think Michigan State's going to waste this kid, throwing him the ball 6 times. I don't care if he was sick. If he's on the field, I don't care. Because you can see the frustration that he is having. And if this thing festers, I think you all know where this is going to probably end up, where it's going to lead to. If he's that good, get him the damn ball. I don't see how it's that difficult. I really don't. But Here we are. If you're a State fan, I get it. You're frustrated. And if you're one of those guys that are just going to sit there and wait and give him an unlimited runway, hey, I'm not in that camp with you. I needed to see something now, and now it looks like this is just going to be a wasted year, another year. You're not going to a bowl game. If that's the case, then what are you paying this guy for? What's his biggest accomplishment at Michigan State? I don't see anything that he's done, period. Sorry. Maybe a good coach, but he may be a bad fit. And it may be time that, maybe the powers that be. Look, it ain't my money. I don't know how you're going to work this buyout. He's certainly not going to quit because he's stealing money right now from the university. But this is just, unless it's unacceptable, in my opinion. You at this pace, you won't see a 6-6 record into year 4. Come on. That's just not college football anymore. Anyway, sorry to go off on a little tangent like that. That is your week 6 wrap up. You've been listening to the 5 Star Zone, watching the 5 Star Zone. Keep liking and subscribing. Tell your friends. I'll be back later on this week with Harold Sheldon from the Big Ten Network as we preview week 7. Thanks for watching.